It all started with rain. July, 8 years old, Kang Sonu, the courtyard of a residential complex in Incheon. After the rain, the asphalt glistened, the ditch smelled of earth, and snails crawled everywhere, like slow, shiny, with little houses on their backs. There were many of them. Dozens, maybe hundreds, crawling out from under every stone and bush. Kang Sonu stood with 3 classmates. Lee Jun, son of wealthy parents, always with money, always with ideas. Park Hyeon, a laugher, followed Lee Jun like a shadow. And Choi, quiet, watched everything with the look of someone who already knew how it would end. "Bet you 500 won," said Lee Jun. He picked up a snail with 2 fingers, a large one with a brown shell, slowly moving its horns. "Eat it and I'll pay." "Alive?" asked Kang Sonyu. "Well, not dead." 501. At 8 years old, big money. For 501, you could buy 3 bags of chips or 1 good snack at the school kiosk. Kang Sonyu looked at the snail. The snail looked at him. 501, he thought. "Deal," he said. There was almost no taste. Something earthy, slimy. He didn't chew for long, just swallowed quickly. Park Hyeon screamed and jumped back. Lee Jun watched with an expression of disgust and respect simultaneously. Choi was silent, just watched. "Here," said Lee Jun. He held out the coin. Kang Sonyu took it. 501. Warm, metallic. He had won the bet. He didn't know that this decision would stay with him for 23 years. Quiet, invisible, buried under layers of memory. He didn't know that the apocalypse system works exactly this way. It takes the very last moment of contact with a living creature, the most random, the most insignificant, and makes it fate. 501. 1 snail. 23 years later, the apocalypse. Kang Son-yu is 31 years old. The office of the company, Sinhan Logistics, 23rd floor, desk by the window. Average job, average salary, average life. He had never been the best at anything except school biology, and even that had been of no use. He worked in logistics. 9 o'clock in the morning. He opened his mail, put his coffee on the desk, was about to start the day. The system came like a thought he hadn't thought. Not a sound, not a light. Just words clear and inevitable directly in his head. The Earth has made a decision. In 24 hours, every person will transform into a hybrid of the last animal they consumed as food. The transformation is permanent. Skills and characteristics correspond to the source. This is not a threat. This is a fact. Good luck. The office froze. 30 people and each one received the same thing in the same second. Kang Son-yu watched it pass across their faces. Emptiness, incomprehension, then panic blossoming in each one like its own flower. The colleague to his right, Park Min-ho, who always ate beef for lunch, stood up immediately, started putting on his jacket. The zoo, he said to himself. Tiger. No, lion. No, a bear. Wait, Kang Son-yu started. Maybe we should first... But Park Min-ho was already leaving. 3 more followed him. The office emptied in 7 minutes. Only 2 remained. Kang Son-yu and Lee Soo-ra, a quiet girl from accounting, who stared at her computer screen with an expression of deep denial of reality. What did you eat last? Asked Kang Son-yu. Tofu, said Lee Soo-ra. Tofu isn't an animal. I know. So before the tofu, fish, sushi last night, salmon. A pause. Does salmon have good skills? Salmon swims against the current, said Kang Son-yu. Endurance, definitely. What about you? He opened the system interface. The line transformation source was glowing. He pressed it. Read it again. Source, garden snail. Common. Date of contact, 23 years ago. Class, trash. Rank, F. Below, skills. Shell, rudimentary. Reduction of physical damage by 2%. Slowness, passive, negative, non-disableable. Movement speed minus 15%. Skin slime, initial. Under stress, the body surface secretes a slippery substance. And the last line, small, almost mocking. Little house, decorative. Ability to partially retract into a defensive position. Practical value, minimal. Silence. What do you have? Asked Lee Soo-ra. Kang Son-yu stared at the screen. A snail, he said. Lee Soo-ra blinked. A snail. Common, garden, class F-. That's... She searched for words. That's... Bad, said Kang Son-yu. This is very bad. The anger came at the 3rd minute. Not panic. Anger. Clean, hot, very specific anger at his 8-year-old self, who had been tempted by 501. 501, 23 years ago. For 501, I'm going to become a snail in the apocalypse. He stood up. Lee Sura watched him. Where are you going? I need to eat something, said Kang Sonyu. Something else better, right now. The system says the last animal you consumed. Can you override the snail with something else? If I eat something now, it will become the last thing. The snail was 23 years ago. Lee Sura looked at him, then at the interface, then at him again. The system fixed the snail as the active source, she said slowly. That means everything I ate after was already cooked, boiled, fried. He understood. The system only counts live biological material. Lee Sura opened her interface, showed him. Source, Atlantic salmon, sashimi. Yesterday, 1947, live biological material confirmed. Sashimi counts, she said. Raw fish is live material, but cooked? No. Fried? No. Kang Sonu thought quickly. I need to eat something alive, raw, a powerful animal. Then the system will overwrite the source. You have 23 hours and 40 minutes. I know. He was already walking toward the door. Kang Sonu, she called after him. He turned around. Good luck, said Lee Sura. A simple word, the right one. Thank you, he said. First thought, the zoo. But the zoo was already on fire, not literally, figuratively. When he stepped outside, Seoul was already changing. Cars stood in traffic jams, people were running, somewhere a shop window had been smashed. Shouting. The radio in a taxi was already talking about the system message. The government was silent. Social networks were crashing one after another under the load. The zoo, a trap. Thousands of people with the same idea. Competition, fights, chaos. He thought differently. Quickly, systematically, the only thing he had from biology. The strongest animal. Available. Alive or fresh. Noryangjin Fish Market. There's live fish in aquariums there. There are the freshest seafood there. There you can find something powerful. The taxi stopped in traffic 3 blocks away. Kang Sonu got out. Ran. Noryangjin at 10:15 looked like a market that was only beginning to understand what was happening. Half the sellers were still trading out of habit, out of inertia. Half were staring at their phones. There were fewer customers than usual. People hadn't yet figured out that live fish from the market could be their salvation. A head start? Small but real. Kang Sonu walked quickly between the rows, looked at the aquariums. Flounder. Flat, slow. Crab. Claws, good, but a crab isn't a predator. Sea bass. Octopus. 8 tentacles, good regeneration. Sea cucumber. He stopped at one stall, in the aquarium, a needlefish, long, dark, with teeth. The seller was looking at him. What's the strongest thing you have? Asked Kang Sonu directly. The strongest predator, alive. The seller, as an elderly man, about 60, looked at him, then at the phone in his pocket, then back at him. You're here because of the message? Yes. How much are you paying? Whatever you ask. The seller thought for a second, then nodded toward the far end of the market. They're keeping a live barracuda over there, brought in 3 days ago from Jeju. A pause. But it's the last one, and I'm not the only one who's seen it today. Kang Sonu was already moving. The barracuda was already being sold. A large man in a sports jacket was standing by the aquarium, haggling with the owner. The barracuda in the aquarium looked at everyone at once. Long, silvery, with its lower jaw jutting forward like a creature that knows it is a predator. Kang Sonu assessed the situation in a second. I'll double the price, he said to the owner directly. The man turned around, looked at him. I was here first, said the man. I'll double his price, Kang Sonu repeated to the owner. I'll triple it, said the man. Kang Sonu looked at the aquarium, at the barracuda, at the interface mentally. Barracuda, the predatory marine fish. Class, medium, rank, C+. Speed in water, maximum, sharp teeth, good reaction. Better than a snail. Much better, but the strongest animal. I want the strongest. I need to check something, said Kang Sonu to the owner. 1 minute. He stepped out of the row, stood by the wall, opened the interface, section search for transformation sources within accessible radius. The system thought for a second, then produced a list. Barracuda, C+, octopus, C, moray, eel, B-. Tiger shark, frozen, market 3 blocks away. A. Great white shark? SS. Great white, SS. He stared at that line. Where? System. Nearest confirmed specimen of fresh biological material class SS, Tokyo Marine Research Center, Japan. Distance approximately 1,200 kilometers. Estimated time, 6 hours by air. He looked at his watch, 10:28. Until transformation, 22 hours and 32 minutes. Tokyo, 6 hours there. Time on site, 6 hours back. Not necessary, the transformation will happen there. Feasible. He returned to the stall. Not taking it, he said to the owner. The man in the sports jacket looked at him with relief. Kang Sonu was already walking toward the exit. The subway was still running. He reached the airport at 11:40, 1 hour and 12 minutes after the system message. The airport was already changing. Lines longer than usual, nervous staff, the smell of panic in the air, but still running. In my previous life, I arrived here at 2 in the afternoon. 3 hours difference. Enough. A ticket for 1,300 to Tokyo, the last one available. The price was 3 times higher than normal. He paid without bargaining, passport with him. He always carried his passport in his bag, an old habit from frequent business trips. Passed through security, sat by the gate, watched the other passengers. About half of them were clearly flying for the same reason. People stared into their interfaces, checked things, spoke quietly and quickly. A man next to him in a suit looked at his phone with the expression of someone who had gotten lucky. You're also going to Tokyo for... Kang Sonu began. For a piece of tiger shark, said the man without turning. There's a restaurant there. Specializes in rare marine delicacies. I called, they still have stock. Tiger shark, rank A, said Kang Sonu. The man finally looked at him, appraisingly. You know the system? A little. A pause. White is SS. The white one, it's nowhere. I checked. I know where there is one. The man looked at him for a long time. Where? Kang Sonu smiled. We'll find out on the spot. The plane took off at 13:08, 6 hours and 47 minutes from boarding to the needed address. The Tokyo Marine Research Center is not a tourist destination, not a public aquarium, a scientific institution, closed, with security. Kang Sonu stood across from the entrance and thought. Japan had also received the system message. Tokyo was also in a panic, a different one, Japanese, more organized, but panic nonetheless. On the streets, people spoke quietly and quickly. Shops were closing. On the TV in the cafe where he had stopped, official representatives were reading a statement that the government was studying the situation. The center was operating, lights in the windows, a guard at the entrance. In my previous life, I never made it to this place. In this one, I did. The problem was that he simply couldn't get in. Kang Sonu thought for 5 minutes, then took out his phone. Called the number he had found on the center's website. Rings 1, 2, 3. Hello, answered a tired voice. Japanese. Good evening. Kang Sonu spoke slowly in English. My name is Kang Sonu. I'm from the Korean Institute of Marine Biology. I know today is an unusual day, but that's exactly why I need to speak with one of your researchers, urgently, regarding great white shark specimens. A long pause. We don't have great white shark specimens, said the voice. You have a frozen specimen, said Kang Sonu calmly. A caudal fin and a fragment of muscle tissue, obtained 3 years ago as part of a research exchange with an Australian center. A pause. I read the publication. Your publication, in the Journal of Marine Biology, Volume 42. Silence. Longer. Who did you say you are? The voice asked, differently now. His name was Yamaguchi Ken. 50 years old, balding, in a white coat over an office shirt. He met Kang Sonu at the entrance personally, with a visitor's pass, with the look of someone who very much needed to talk to someone about sharks, specifically today. Are you really from the Korean Institute? He asked in the corridor. No, said Kang Sonu. Yamaguchi stopped. But I know about the publication, Kang Sonu continued, and I know about the system. And I know that a biologist who studies sharks is right now thinking about the same thing as me. A pause. What did you eat last, Yamaguchi-san? A long silence in the empty corridor. Octopus, said Yamaguchi quietly. Last night for dinner. Rank? C. He looked at Kang Sonu. I wanted to change it, but everything is closed and security isn't letting staff leave until morning because of orders from above. And your specimens, said Kang Sonu slowly. The frozen fin of the great white. The system counts frozen material as fresh biological material if the freezing was quick and recent. Yamaguchi looked at him. You want to... I want to buy it. Kang Son-woo looked him straight in the eye. Or trade. Or obtain by any means by which you remain satisfied. A pause. I think you have enough specimen for 2 people. The silence stretched for 5 seconds. 10. Yamaguchi looked at him, then said, I have a daughter. She's 6 years old. She ate fish sticks today. Kang Son-woo looked at him. Fish sticks are fish, he said. Live biological material if the production is proper. What rank? Pollock? Rank D? Better than octopus? Slightly. Yamaguchi closed his eyes. She's a 6-year-old girl. In the apocalypse. Rank D. Silence. There's enough specimen for 4 people, said Yamaguchi at last. This is a scientific specimen worth... It can't be bought for money. A pause. But you will help me with one thing. Which? My daughter is at home right now in Shibuya with her grandmother. Security won't let me leave the center. I'm under orders. He looked at Kang Son-woo. You can go to her. Bring her here. There are still 13 hours until the transformation. Kang Son-woo thought for a second. Address. Right now? Right now. The grandmother's name was Yamaguchi Tomoko. She opened the door at the knock and looked at Kang Son-woo with the manner of someone who wouldn't be surprised by anything on the day the system announced the apocalypse. You're from Ken? She asked in Japanese. Yes. Kang Son-woo showed her his phone, the screen with the message from Yamaguchi. Tomoko read it, nodded. Haruka, she called into the apartment. Get dressed. We're going to Papa. Haruka, 6 years old, short hair, a serious face she had clearly inherited from her father. She came out already dressed, in a jacket with a small backpack. She looked at Kang Son-woo without fear. Are you from Korea? She asked in Japanese. Yes, he said. You have an accent. I know. Papa also speaks Korean. Poorly. A pause. Are you really going to take us to Papa? Really. She nodded. Okay, let's go. They returned to the center at 23:15. Yamaguchi's laboratory, white walls, equipment, refrigerators along the walls. The smell of sea and chemicals. He took the specimen from a special storage unit, a transparent container, frozen, with a dark piece of tissue and part of a fin inside. Large, powerful, clearly from a creature of a different scale than anything Kang Son-woo had seen before. The system reacted immediately. A notification appeared even before contact. Source Class SS detected. Great white shark, Carcharodon carcharias. Specimen age, 8 months, frozen at -80 degrees Celsius. Biological activity, preserved at 91%. Status, eligible for transformation. Kang Son-woo read this and felt something cold and important pass through his chest. 91%. Almost alive. How do we prepare it? He asked Yamaguchi. I'm a researcher, said Yamaguchi. Not a chef. A pause. But basically, thin slices, minimal processing. The system, judging by the logic, counts raw material best of all. Shark sashimi, said Kang Son-woo, in a manner of speaking. Yamaguchi worked carefully, researcher's tools, practiced hands. He divided the specimen into 4 parts, for himself, for Kang Son-woo, for Haruka, a small portion, and for Tomoko, who had been silently observing and at some point simply moved to stand beside them without a word. They ate at the laboratory table, not solemnly, not fearfully. They simply ate. The taste was strange, dense, cold, with a hint of the ocean, a little iron. Not pleasant in the ordinary sense, but Kang Son-woo ate slowly and felt every bite. The system updated after the second piece. Transformation source updated. Previous source, garden snail, class F. New source, great white shark, class SS. Transformation in 11 hours, 20 minutes. 1 line, previous source, annulled. Kang Son-woo closed his eyes. The snail, 23 years, 501, a child's courtyard after the rain. Annulled. He exhaled. Haruka ate seriously, that's in small pieces, carefully with the look of someone doing something important. Papa, she said, who will I become? A shark, said Yamaguchi. A shark hybrid. Great white? Yes, Haruka thought. Sharks can't stop, she said. They need to keep moving all the time or they'll die. Yamaguchi looked at his daughter. How do you know? You told me. A pause. That's not scary. I keep moving all the time anyway. Kang Sunu looked at her. 6 years old. The apocalypse. A great white shark that keeps moving all the time. Maybe that's okay. They spent the night at the center. Yamaguchi gave Kang Sonu a staff room. Simple, with a cot with a view of the inner courtyard. Kang Sonu lay and stared at the ceiling. He thought about the first life. 18 days from transformation to death. 18 days of slow, slimy 2% existence. The catfish man who killed him, not out of malice, simply because he needed food from the backpack. Kang Sonu couldn't run away. Minus 15% to speed. Slime under stress. Little house. Now, something different. The system had shown him the preliminary shark skills. He had been looking at them for 2 hours already, rereading, not believing they were his. Electroreception. Rank A. Perception of electric fields of living creatures within a radius of 400 meters. Impossible to hide. Regeneration. Rank A. Tissue restoration 40 times faster than human. Bite pressure. Rank SS. 1.8 tons per square centimeter. Maximum among living creatures. Skin denticles. Rank S. Derived from dental tissue covering the body. Damage reduction 60%. Weapon cuts. Effectiveness reduced by 80%. Hydrodynamics. Rank A. Movement optimization. Reaction speed plus 200% in close combat. Blood instinct. Rank S. Upon damaging an opponent, instant activation of all characteristics at 150% for 30 seconds. Base characteristics. Strength 89. Speed 76. Endurance 94. Health 2,400. Kang Sonu lay and stared at these numbers. In the first life, Strength 2. Speed 3 minus 15%. Endurance 2. Health 120. Now 89. 76. 94. 2,400. One snail against a great white shark. He laughed. Quietly alone in the room at 3 o'clock in the morning, he laughed. Not from joy, from the absurd, mathematically precise difference between two decisions. 501 or a ticket to Tokyo, a snail or a shark. The apocalypse begins the same for both. It ends very differently. The transformation came precisely at 9 o'clock the next morning. The system announced it an hour before. A special notification, red, for everyone simultaneously. 60 seconds to transformation. Sources confirmed, changes are irreversible. They gathered in the large room of the center. Yamaguchi, Haruka, Tomoko, Kang Sonu, and several more staff members who had stayed overnight. 60 seconds. Kang Sonu stood and looked at his hands. The last 60 seconds of ordinary hands, an ordinary body. 31 years of an office, average, unremarkable life. 30 seconds. He thought about the snail. I'm sorry, he said to it mentally. It wasn't your fault. You were just crawling across the asphalt. It was I who was tempted by 501. But not anymore. Not today. 10 seconds. Haruka took her father's hand. Yamaguchi squeezed her palm. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The transformation was not pain. It was pressure. Like water from all sides. Like the ocean's depth. Like something enormous and ancient entering the body from within and reshaping it to fit itself. Kang Sonu closed his eyes. Skin first. Warmth, then rigidity. Not armor, not scales. Something different. Small and dense, like thousands of tiny teeth grown from the surface. Denticles. Muscles next. As if the entire body had been rebuilt in a second. Denser, faster, different. Not painfully, just different. Eyes. That was strange. His vision changed so that Kang Sonu gasped. He saw everything. Peripheral vision. Almost 300 degrees. Clarity like optics. And something new beneath the vision, deeper. Electroreception. He felt it immediately, the faint electric fields of the people nearby. Yamaguchi, clear, alive. Haruka, small, bright. Tomoko, the staff. 500 million years of evolution in one instant. He opened his eyes, looked at his hands. Skin. Dark gray on top, fading to lighter below. The classic countershading of the Great White. Camouflage honed by evolution over 500 million years. Fingers human, but the skin on them denser, harder. On the knuckles, ridges like those of a creature accustomed to contact. Teeth. He felt them with his tongue. Sharper, denser, multi-road. When one wears down, the next one is already ready behind it. The system updated to final characteristics. Kang Sonu. Class Great White Shark. Rank SS. Level 1. Strength 89, Speed 76, Endurance 94, Health 2400. Skills activated, all 5 available. Special system note. Only Class SS hybrid in current zone. Radius 200 kilometers. Only, he closed the interface. Looked at Yamaguchi. The researcher had changed too. A similar transformation. The same gray tones, the same skin density. Haruka stood beside him, small with the same denticles on her hands, looking at her palms seriously. "Papa," she said, "are we sharks?" "Sharks," said Yamaguchi. "Good," she nodded. "I still like swimming." The city outside was chaos. Not in a metaphorical sense, literally. Something was burning somewhere. Somewhere people were screaming. On the street, Kang Son-yu could see from the center's window a man with buffalo horns was running, pursued by a crocodile man, fast, angry, clearly with one purpose in mind. The transformation had passed for everyone, and it immediately became clear that the world had divided. The strong hybrids, those who had made it in time, those who had thought ahead, those who had been lucky, became predators. The weak, chicken, pig, domestic fish, cow, became prey. This happened in the first 2 hours. Not because anyone decided it, simply because of instincts. Kang Son-yu stood by the window and watched this with his new vision. The electroreception worked even through walls. He could feel dozens of electric fields within the radius of the building. Different intensities. Some large, powerful predators. Some weak, small, frightened. "We need to leave," said Yamaguchi. "Where?" "I don't know, Seoul, but you know." Kang Son-yu thought. In the first life, he had hidden. An apartment, supplies, minimal contact with the outside world. 21 days of solitude and then death. Not again. "We need a group," he said. "Why?" asked Yamaguchi. "You're the only SS within 200 kilometers. It's easier alone." "It's easier to die alone," said Kang Son-yu. "I checked." Yamaguchi looked at him. "You speak like someone who knows what's coming." "A little," said Kang Son-yu. Silence. "All right," said Yamaguchi. "A group." They found Kim on the second day. Kim Do-hwan, 26 years old, former military, transformed into a grizzly bear. High-level characteristics close to the top among land-based. They found him in an alley, 1 against 4 medium-strength hybrids, handling it but with difficulty. Kang Son-yu walked into the alley. The 4 turned toward him, a wolf man, a hyena man, 2 unidentified ones, something medium, brownish, aggressive. The wolf looked at Kang Son-yu. His nose was working. Wolves have the best sense of smell. And here something happened that Kang Son-yu didn't expect. The wolf took a step back, then the hyena, also back. Uncertain with a growl, but back. The system of predator hierarchy. 500 million years of evolution told the wolf who the apex predator was here. Without a single word, Kang Son-yu took a step forward. The 4 left, quickly, silently. Do-hwan looked at him from the ground, split lip, an arm held at the wrong angle. "Who are you?" asked the bear. "Kang Son-yu." He extended his hand. "We need a bear in the group." Do-hwan looked at the extended hand. "Why do you get to decide what's needed?" "Because I know what's coming, approximately." "How?" "I died once, in another life." Long silence. Do-hwan took his hand. "All right," said the bear. "Let's see what this coming is." By the end of the first week, there were 7 of them. Yamaguchi, shark, biochemist, who understood the transformation at a cellular level. Haruka, small shark, whom everyone protected, not because they were asked to, but because they wanted to. Do-hwan, bear, the group's best fighter in direct contact. Seo Rina, an eagle woman they found on the roof of a shopping center, looking at the city from above and seeing what others couldn't. Park Jong, a whale man, slow on land but with characteristics that made him a living fortress, and Lee Sura, the same one from The Office. She found them herself on the 4th day, came to the center building, and waited outside. "How did you get here?" asked Kang Son-yu. "Salmon," she said. Swimming against the current turned out to be literal. She showed her wet clothes. "I swam through 3 blocks of flooded subway tunnel." Kang Son-yu looked at her. "Welcome," he said. The first serious opponent appeared on the 14th day. No one knew his name. A tiger-shark hybrid. High level, not SS, but A++. He had assembled a group of 20 people, held 3 blocks under his control, and made a living by taking resources from weak hybrids. They met inevitably. The tiger shark came out onto the street first, tall with characteristics visible to the naked eye with a group behind him. He looked at Kang Sonyu. The electroreception gave a full analysis in a second. Field intensity, heart rate, muscle tension. The tiger shark was strong, very strong, but he felt it too. Class SS, said the tiger shark. Not a question, a statement. First time I've seen one. I propose we don't fight, said Kang Sonyu. Interesting. The tiger shark smiled unpleasantly. I've heard you say that to everyone. A pause. But you're a stranger on my territory, with food I need. We're not food. I decide. He attacked without warning, sharply, quickly, correctly. A ++ is no joke. The strike speed was such that most levels wouldn't have had time to react. Kang Sonyu reacted. Hydrodynamics is a +200% to reaction speed. The body moved aside before the mind made the decision. Pure reflex, pure shark. The tiger shark's fist passed a centimeter away. Kang Sonyu caught the arm. A grip, a bite without teeth, pressure at 2/3 of maximum. The tiger shark cried out. Blood instinct? The skill activated on its own. The pressure of the opponent's trauma. A scent. Not blood, chemical, biological. And everything activated at 150%. 30 seconds. The tiger shark tried to break free, a ++ strength against SS strength at 150%. Simple math. At the 18th second, the tiger shark said, Stop! Kang Sonyu released him immediately. The tiger shark stood, looked at his arm, not broken, but the pressure had left a mark he could feel. Then looked at Kang Sonyu. You could have broken it. I could have, Kang Sonyu agreed. Why didn't you? Because I need people, said Kang Sonyu. Not corpses and not enemies. People. A long silence. The tiger shark's group looked at their leader. His 20 people watched him think. What are the terms? Asked the tiger shark at last. Equal voice, a council, shared protection. A pause. And you stop taking food from the weak. That's unprofitable. That's right. The tiger shark looked at him. You speak like an idealist. I speak like someone who has seen what happens when everyone acts only in their own interest, said Kang Sonyu. Everyone dies, just at different times. Silence. 3 days, said the tiger shark. I watch your group for 3 days, then I decide. Agreed. On the 4th day, he brought 20 people. By the 58th day, the base had grown to 130 people, and the boss arrived. Not a tiger shark, not a T-Rex, not a crocodile. Something Kang Sonyu hadn't expected, because in his first life he hadn't lived long enough to see it. The system announced his arrival an hour in advance. A special notification read for everyone simultaneously. Class SSS hybrid detected. Only one. Transformation source, Megalodon. Extinct species. Biological material, paleontological specimen with preserved DNA. Status, zone boss. Level, beyond classification. Megalodon. Ancestor of the great white shark. 20 meters in length in the original. In human form, smaller, but what they saw from the base's windows was not small. 3 meters tall in human form. Skin whitish gray, almost albino. Movements slow, very calm. The movements of a creature that knows no threats. Eyes white without a visible pupil. He walked straight toward the base, alone, without a group. He didn't need a group. Kang Sonyu stood on the roof and watched him through the electroreception. The field of this creature decayed like a power plant, like the sun beside a lantern. Megalodon against Great White is like Great White against that garden snail from childhood. What do we do? Asked Do Hwan beside him. Thinking, said Kang Sonyu. He's heading toward us. We have about 3 minutes. I know. Can you feel him through electroreception? Yes. And he's not aggressive. A pause. Not toward any of us. He's searching. Searching for what? Kang Sonyu watched the creature. Megalodon, the apex. Absolute. But he's alone. Great whites are always solitary, Megalodons even more so. 500 million years of solitude in evolutionary memory. What does a creature that has always been alone search for? Let's go, said Kang Sonyu. Where? Down, to him. He walked out of the base gates alone. The Megalodon stopped 10 meters away. They looked at each other. Two creatures, SS and SSS. Great White and its ancestor. Kang Sonyu's electroreception worked at maximum. The Megalodon's field was enormous, pressing, like standing under a high voltage line. But in it, Something. Confusion. Familiar. You are human, said Kang Sonu aloud. The megalodon looked at him. You ate a paleontological specimen, Kang Sonu continued. That means you're a scientist, or a person with access to specimens. A pause. You did this deliberately. A pause. Long. The megalodon lowered his head slightly, barely noticeably. Yes. How many people do you have? Asked Kang Sonu. The creature looked at him with wide eyes. Then slowly, very slowly, raised one hand. One finger. One, said Kang Sonu. You're alone. Yes? Kang Sonu thought for a second, then turned back toward the gates. Behind them stood 130 people watching. Welcome to the base, said Kang Sonu to the megalodon. His name was Pak Son-ho, professor of paleontology. 54 years old. He spoke rarely, not because he couldn't, but because he was accustomed to thinking more than speaking. When he did speak, everyone listened. On the second day, he said to Kang Sonu, I knew the specimen would work. I've been studying megalodon DNA for 20 years. A pause. I didn't expect to become like this. Any regrets? No. He looked at his hands. I studied these creatures my whole life. Now I know from the inside what it's like. A long pause. It's more terrifying and more beautiful than I imagined. Terrifying and understandable, said Kang Sonu. But beautiful? Pak Son-ho looked at him. Do you feel the electroreception? Yes. The world through it is different. Alive everywhere. Every creature glows. A pause. I never thought I'd be able to feel life literally, as a field, as light. Kang Sonu was silent. Yes, he said at last. More beautiful. By the 61st day, Kang Sonu knew one thing for certain. The apocalypse was not random. The system hadn't simply distributed skills and stepped aside. It was building, slowly, methodically, according to a logic he was only beginning to understand now. Each boss appeared at the right time. Each trial happened when the group was strong enough to survive and not strong enough to do it easily. This is not an apocalypse, this is an exam. Seo, as he privately called Lee Soo-ra in his head, she had become the group's chief analyst, spread a map of the city on the table. Tokyo, 50 kilometers in radius. Red markers, zones controlled by strong groups. Blue, neutral territories. Black, dangerous, where no one went. Look, said Lee Soo-ra. She drew a line across the map. All the bosses appear along this line, strictly north to south, at equal intervals and approximately every 12 days. A pause. The next boss is in 3 days. Here. A finger on the map. The central business district, Tokyo Tower. How do you know? Asked Do Hwan. Because salmon knows currents, said Lee Soo-ra simply. I feel patterns. She looked at Kang Sonu. And because you've been staring at the map exactly there for 3 minutes. Kang Sonu looked away from Tokyo Tower. I was just... You knew, she said. From the very beginning, you know what's coming next. Not everything, but enough. No accusation, just a fact. You died in your first life. You told Do Hwan that when you first met. Is it true? Silence. Everyone at the table looked at him. Do Hwan, Yamaguchi, Seo Rina, Park Jong, Pak Son-ho, the megalodon in the corner, white eyes listening. The young tiger shark everyone simply called Tiger. 130 people beyond the walls. Kang Sonu looked at the map. Yes, he said. Tell us, said Lee Soo-ra. He told them. Everything. From the snail at 8 years old to death on the 18th day. From the darkness in the voice to the second awakening at 9 o'clock in the morning in the office. From the airport to Tokyo, to the restaurant that hadn't opened, to Yamaguchi and the specimen in the laboratory. He spoke for 20 minutes. No one interrupted. When he finished, the silence lasted a long time. You were reborn for a shark, said Tiger at last. Yes. And in the first life, a snail. Yes. For 501. Yes. Tiger looked at him, then slowly, very slowly, smiled. That's the most Korean story I've ever heard. Laughter, unexpected, genuine, discharged the tension like lightning discharges a storm. First Do Hwan, then Seo Rina, then Park Jong. Even Pak Son-ho, the megalodon in the corner, made a low sound that might have been laughter. Kang Sonu looked at them. This is his group. These people. Because of 501, he became a snail. Because of the snail, he was reborn. Because of the rebirth, Here, life, absurd with perfect logic. Tokyo Tower was visible from 7 kilometers away. They set out at dawn, not with the whole base, a combat group. 12 people, all the strongest. Kang Sonu, Do Hwan, Tiger, Seo Rina, Pak Sonho, Yamaguchi. Plus 6 whom Tiger had selected personally. His people disciplined, no unnecessary words. Lee Sura stayed at the base. "You're needed here," Kang Sonu told her. "If we don't come back within 6 hours, take everyone and go." "You'll come back," she said. "Lee Sura?" "Kang Sonu." She looked at him directly. "You chose the shark instead of the snail. You flew to Tokyo alone. You offered dialogue twice where you could have simply broken an arm." A pause. "People who make those kinds of choices come back." He looked at her. "That's not logic. That's experience," she said. 6 hours. Go. The first 2 kilometers, quiet. The city had changed over 2 months. Vegetation had broken through the asphalt aggressively, quickly, as if nature had been waiting for its chance and had finally gotten it. Trees had split concrete. Branches grew through the windows of empty offices. Somewhere, birds, real ones, not hybrids, just birds. The electroreception showed a map of the living, dozens of fields in range, of varying power, varying aggression. Most were hiding, afraid of what was moving toward the tower. "They can already feel it," said Yamaguchi. "Feel what?" asked Do Hwan. "The boss. Electroreception works in both directions. Creatures feel not only us sensing them, but they sense us. And the boss, everyone feels." A pause. "Like gravity." "Can you feel him?" asked Kang Sonu. "From 3 kilometers, said Yamaguchi. "You?" "From 5. Pak Sunho raised one hand, one finger, his laconic language. "I can from 8. "What does that mean?" asked Tiger. A pause. Pak Sunho thought. Then he uttered a rare long phrase. "Deep water, very old." They saw it at the base of the tower. It stood motionless, looking up at the tower as if measuring something. The boss was unlike anything Kang Sonu had seen before. Not enormous, average height, almost human. But from it came pressure like from a nuclear reactor, not physical, wave-like, electrical. The electroreception showed a field of such intensity that Kang Sonu's head spun just from looking. Skin, black, matte, absorbing light. On the arms, bioluminescence, faint, bluish-green. Eyes, fully glowing, no whites, no visible pupils. Like 2 lanterns from the deep. The system provided information. Zone 4 Boss, Humboldt Squid Hybrid. Rank, SSS. Level, beyond classification. Special skill, chromatophores. Instant invisibility. Ink, neurotoxin class A. Tentacles, radius 30 meters, pressure 800 kilograms per meter squared. Electrobioluminescence, blinding discharge, area 50 meters. Humboldt squid, deep water predator. Hunts in packs, aggressive, unpredictable. Unlike an octopus, it doesn't think slowly, it thinks fast and ruthlessly. Chromatophores, said Yamaguchi quietly. Invisibility, this is a problem, agreed Kang Son-yu. I have electroreception, he said. Invisibility doesn't work against me. I can feel the field. And against us? Asked Do Hwan. Against you it works completely. Do Hwan absorbed this. So you always see him, and we're blind. Yes. And your eyes are our eyes. Exactly. A pause. That's inconvenient, said Do Hwan. Very, agreed Kang Sonu. But we can work with it. He looked at the group. Listen carefully, I'm explaining this once. The squid felt them first. Of course, its sensory system was no worse. It turned slowly, looked at the 12 people at the edge of the square, then disappeared. Just disappeared. The chromatophores activated instantly. The skin took on the color and texture of everything around it, perfectly without pixelation. Where a person had just been standing. Emptiness. Stay together, Kang Sonu shouted. The electroreception showed him, a bright point, moving in an arc, coming in from the right. Fast. Right! 3 meters! Back! The group leapt aside. The air where they had been standing was cut by a tentacle strike. Not visible, but the sound sharp, slicing through the air like a whip. The asphalt where the tentacle landed, a crack. Pressure of 800 kilograms per meter. He's moving back. Stop. Hold position. Another strike. From the left now. Again, emptiness for everyone except Kang Son-yu. 2 steps left. Kang Son-yu, Tiger began. Quiet, we listen only to me. 1 more step left. The tentacle passed half a meter away. The squid changed tactics, stopped attacking with tentacles, raised its arms, electrobioluminescence. Eyes! Close your eyes now! Kang Sonu squeezed his eyes shut. A flash even through his eyelids, white, total. Someone didn't make it in time. Kang Sonu heard a cry. Then another. He opened his eyes. 3 of Tiger's group were on the ground, holding their faces. Temporary blindness. The rest were alive, on their feet, disoriented. The squid was invisible again. But Kang Sonu could see its field. It had changed. More intense. It was preparing something big. Sun Ho! Kang Sonu called out. The megalodon looked at him, white eyes. Can you feel him? A slow nod. Coordinates. Point with your hand. Pak Sun Ho raised his arm slowly, steadily pointed into the empty air at 12 meters. The squid was there. Kang Sonu felt the field building. The tentacles were getting ready. All 8, not 2 arms, but 8 simultaneous strikes from different directions, covering the entire group at once. No escape, no blocking. 8 directions. He needed to push it off its position before it attacked. Needed to reach it. 30 meters of open space, an invisible opponent, tentacles like an alarm system. Kang Sonu looked at Seo Rina. An eagle in the air, and it was invisible too. Or rather, unpredictable. The squid was focused on ground targets. Seo Rina, he said quietly. Can you carry me? The eagle looked at him. Briefly, you're heavy. 20 seconds. I'll try. That's enough. Kang Sonu turned to the group. Everyone back, around the corner of the building, no exceptions. A pause. Do Huan. Yes. Noise, maximum, from the opposite side. Distract him for 3 seconds. The bear nodded. Didn't ask why. Sun Ho, tell me when he turns toward Do Huan. The megalodon nodded. Go, said Kang Son-u. Do Huan came out from around the corner with a roar. Not a tactical one, a real one. A grizzly bear at full power, a blow to the ground, a crash that echoed across the square. Even the invisible squid reacted. The field shifted, turned. Pak Sun Ho raised his hand. He turned. Seo Rina grabbed Kang Sonu under the arms, wings vertically upward. 5 meters, 10, an arc over the square invisible to the squid which was looking at the bear. 15 meters above the ground. The electroreception showed the field precisely, directly below him. Bright, enormous, pulsing. Let go, said Kang Son-yu. Seo Rina released him. A fall from 15 meters, directly onto an invisible target. The squid felt it in the last second, turned. The chromatophores dropped. It became visible, looking up, raised its arms in defense. Kang Son-yu struck upon landing. His full weight plus gravity plus the pressure skill. Not teeth, fists, both. He channeled all the force of an SS-class shark into a point above the collarbone. Blood instinct activated from the contact, from the pressure, from the smell of the opponent's biological reaction. 150% of all characteristics. 30 seconds. The squid held its ground. SSS- didn't fall, but was thrown back 5 meters. The chromatophores flickered unstably, invisibility switching on and off in spurts. It stood up, looked at Kang Son-yu with white glowing eyes. Something changed in that gaze, not anger, assessment. The squid raised one hand, an open palm. Kang Son-yu froze. The electroreception read the field, no attack. Tentacles relaxed, bioluminescence faded. A pause. They looked at each other, shark and squid, 2 predators of the ocean deep in human bodies on a square by Tokyo Tower. You're reading my field, said the squid. Voice low with resonance, first words of the entire fight. Yes, said Kang Son-yu. Then you know I'm not planning to attack. I know. Why did you stop? Because you stopped first. Silence, long. You're the only one, said the squid. SS within 200 kilometers, I checked. I know. I'm SSS. A pause. I should have won. You should have, agreed Kang Son-yu. But you jumped from 15 meters onto an invisible target. Yes, that's madness. A little. The squid looked at him for another second. Then something in its posture changed. The tension left. My name is Tanaka Ray, it said. I was a marine biologist. Kang Son-u, logistics. Logistics. A small pause. And you jumped from 15 meters onto invisible squids. Circumstances change people. Tanaka looked at him. Do you have a base? 130 people. Living normally? We try. Any biologists? 2. One specializes in sharks, one in megalodons. Megalodon? Tanaka blinked, the first live reaction. You have a megalodon hybrid? Pak Son-ho, professor of paleontology. A pause. He wants to meet a Humboldt squid. I think he would say so himself, but he's very quiet. Tanaka looked toward where Pak Son-ho was standing. Pak Son-ho raised his hand in greeting, slowly, at a tortoise's pace. Tanaka turned to Kang Son-woo. You're going to offer me to join? I am. Terms? Equal voice, a council, shared protection. You say that to everyone? To everyone. Even the megalodon? Especially the megalodon. Tanaka thought for 10 seconds. All right, he said. By the 89th day, the base had grown to 220 people. It had become not a base, but a city within a city. The Marine Research Center plus 3 neighboring buildings, all connected by passageways. Yamaguchi had expanded the laboratory. Lee Sura had created a network of 40 observation points throughout the district. Haruka, who had turned 7 in the middle of the apocalypse, was running lessons for 8 children, seriously, with a schedule, with chalk on the wall. Tanaka had integrated surprisingly easily and turned out to be quiet, systematic, useful as an analyst. He and Lee Sura formed a pair that could predict threats with an accuracy that was frightening. Pak Son-ho and Yamaguchi were inseparable. 2 marine biologists had found each other and talked about things no one else understood. Something about evolution, about geological strata, about how the transformation was not accidental but inevitable. Do-hwan trained the guards. Seo-rina ran reconnaissance. Tiger kept discipline, strict, without unnecessary words. Kang Son-woo coordinated everything, not because he wanted power, because he could see the whole. On the 89th day, the system sent a message. Not red, not alarming. White, calm, like a letter. 11 days until the final day. The final day is not a test of strength. The final day is an evaluation. Evaluation criteria are not revealed in advance. Preparation for the final day is not regulated by the system. This is your choice. The council convened immediately. 14 people at the table. Expanded roster, all subgroup leaders. Kang Son-woo sat at the head, looked at each of them. Everyone had heard. We all heard it, said Do-hwan. Thoughts? Prepare for battle, said Tiger. Prepare for flight, said someone from the back rows. The system says not a test of strength, said Lee Sura. Evaluation. A pause. What does a system that launched the apocalypse evaluate? Silence. It evaluates what we did with the transformation, said Yamaguchi slowly. From a biologist's perspective, the system gave everyone tools, skills, abilities. He looked at the table. What matters is not what you received. What matters is what you did with it. We survived, said Tiger. That's the minimum, said Yamaguchi. Bacteria survived too. A pause. We built something, said Baum. He had been found among the refugee crowd on the 35th day. A former social worker, a guerrilla man, quiet and observant as always. 220 people, a laboratory, children being taught, people helping each other. He spoke slowly. That's not the minimum. Kang Son-woo looked at him. Baum always says the right thing. Then we continue doing what we're doing, said Kang Son-woo. 11 days, no changes in behavior, nothing performative. The system sees what's real, not theater. A pause. If the evaluation is for what we've been building for 89 days, then it's already underway. Has been for a long time. Silence. There's one more thing, said Lee Sura. Everyone looked at her. She opened her laptop. A map, expanded 500 kilometers across. I've been tracking the boss patterns across the entire zone, not just ours. She showed the lines. Every combat group that encountered a boss and won received a new message. Not public, personal, coordinates. A pause. Coordinates of 1 point, the same one for everyone. Where? Asked Kang Son-woo. Fuji, said Lee Sura. Mount Fuji, the summit. Silence. Everyone is going there, said Tanaka. Not a question. Yes, said Lee Sura. On the 100th day, all surviving groups that cleared the bosses received the coordinates. She looked at Kang Son-woo. There will be many of us there, and not all of them will be allies. No, not all. Fuji was 3 hours from Tokyo. They set out at dawn, the entire base. 220 people, an organized column, in a silence that was not fear but focus. The silence of 220 people who had lived together for 99 days, buried 7, taken in strangers, taught children, and helped each other. A silence heavy and right. Haruka walked beside Yamaguchi, held his hand. "Papa," she said. "Yes." "Were we good sharks?" Yamaguchi looked at his daughter. "The best I know." "Good," she said, and fell silent. At the foot of Fuji, other groups. There were many of them, dozens. From Tokyo, from the suburbs, from places Kang Sonu had only seen as dots on Lee Sura's map. Hybrids of every kind. Tigers, bears, wolves, birds, fish. Creatures he couldn't identify. Different levels, different strength, different stories. And all of them walking in one direction, up. He saw faces in the crowd, tense, tired, but alive. All alive. 99 days and alive. "How many of us are there?" he asked Lee Sura. She counted with her eyes, quickly, professionally. 1,800, give or take 20. "That's a lot," said Do Hwan. "That's good," said Kang Sonyu. Halfway up the ascent, and it began. Not a fight, and a different kind of trial. The path narrowed. Snow started. Not seasonal, systemic, too dense, too fast. Visibility dropped. Groups began to separate. Panic, loss of orientation. Kang Sonyu stopped. Electroreception at maximum. In the white silence of the snowfall, he could feel every field within 200 meters. Every person, a living spot. Scattered, frightened, losing their direction. "Seo Rina!" he called out. The eagle was already in the air above the snowfall where visibility was better. "I can see the path," a voice from above. Straight, then left at a large rock, then straight again. "Can you all hear?" Kang Sonu shouted, not just to his own people, to everyone around. Straight, then left, large rock, pass it down. A wave of voices. People from other groups picked it up. Strangers, outsiders, passing the direction down the chain. They walked like that for 20 minutes. A chain of voices. Kang Sonyu's electroreception as GPS. Seo Rina as eyes from the air. The snow stopped suddenly. The path opened up. Wide, clear, straight to the summit. Behind them, 1,800 people. All of them. Not one lost. An unfamiliar hybrid nearby, large, a bear man from another group, looked at Kang Sonyu. "Who are you?" "Kang Sonyu, base in Tokyo." "Shark?" "Great white." The bear nodded. "Thank you," he said simply, and walked upward. The summit opened at 9 o'clock exactly. As with everything in this apocalypse, at 9 o'clock to the minute. The system loved precision. 1,800 people stood on the summit of Fuji. The crater was flooded, not with water, with light. Blue, calm, slowly pulsing. From it rose a figure. The same one Kang Sonyu had seen described in system messages from other groups. Transparent, shifting, without a face. A voice in every head. Day 100, evaluation complete. Silence over the crater. 1,800 people, not one made a sound. Recording. A pause. 18,700 instances of assistance to strangers. 412 instances of choosing dialogue over combat. 77 children under protection. 231 outcasts accepted. Kang Sonyu listened. 222 dead out of the initial 7,000 survivors in the zone. 3% losses. A record. 3%. He thought about that number, about those who hadn't made it, about the 7 from his own base. Recording separately. Class SS Hybrid, Kang Sonyu. Source, Great White Shark, second run. 1,800 heads turned toward him. Everyone could hear. Kang Sonyu didn't move. In the first run, Class F Source. Snail, 18 days, alone. In the second run, Class SS Source. Great White, 100 days, 220 people. Difference between runs, 1 decision, airport, ticket, Tokyo. System conclusion, potential is not defined by the start. Potential is defined by choice. Silence. Such silence that Kang Sonyu could hear the snow under his neighbor's feet. Evaluation maximum, apocalypse mode complete. Reconstruction mode initiated. The light from the crater began to rise, slowly expanding, covering the summit. Not alarming, not dangerous. Warm, like a sunrise. Then the system gave its final message. One for everyone, the last. Question. What comes next is your choice. Skills retained, transformations permanent, threats removed. The rest is you. Good luck. And fell silent forever. The descent was long. No one hurried. There was nowhere to hurry. The first day without system threats, without the next boss, without a timer. Just a descent from the mountain in the morning light. Haruka walked beside Kang Sonyu. 7 years old. Gray skin, denticles on her hands, shark's eyes, lateral, sharp, seeing everything. A small great white shark who had taught other children to read during the apocalypse. Kang Ajeosi, she said. Ajeosi, uncle. She had called him that since the 35th day. Yes? What happens now? Building, he said. What are we building? Everything. A pause. A proper school, expanding Yamaguchi-san's laboratory, homes, gardens. He thought. A library. Everything that was and something new. Can hybrids build a normal world? People built the world for thousands of years, said Kang Son-yu. They've become a little different. The world is the same. Haruka thought. Sharks can't stop, she said. They need to keep moving. I know. So we'll build and keep moving. All the time. Yes, said Kang Son-yu. Good, said Haruka, and walked a little faster. At the foot of Fuji, Kang Son-yu stopped, turned around. Behind him, 1,800 people descending the mountain. Hybrids of every form, every rank, every story. Sharks and bears, eagles and squids, salmon and megalodons. People who had become something else and found something real in it. Lee Sura came to stand beside him. What are you thinking about? She asked. The snail, said Kang Son-yu. She looked at him. Seriously? If not for the snail, no rebirth, no shark. He looked at the horizon. Know this. That's called finding meaning in a mistake, said Lee Sura. Or in 501. She smiled. Are you going to spend your whole life thinking about that snail? Probably. That's a little strange. I lived through the apocalypse twice, said Kang Son-yu. A little strange is putting it mildly. Lee Sura looked at him for a second. Then she laughed, genuinely, not politely. The laugh she hadn't allowed herself for 89 days of analysis and survival. Du Huan heard it, stopped, turned around. What's funny? The snail, said Lee Sura. What snail? The one that started everything. Do Huan looked at them, then at Kang Son-yu. For 501? For 501, the bear thought. We should build it a monument, he said seriously. To the snail? To the most important snail in the history of the apocalypse. A pause. Kang Son-yu looked at the bear, then he laughed too. They walked home. 220 people plus new acquaintances from Fuji, plus cooperation agreements that Lee Sura had managed to draw up on the descent, plus plans that Yamaguchi and Tanaka were already discussing in low voices. A laboratory, research into the transformation, understanding the biology of the new world. Tokyo waited ahead. Not the Tokyo they had left 100 days ago, a different one. Alive in a new way, with greenery in the cracks of the asphalt, with silence where there had once been noise, with people who had become something else and were learning to live with it. Kang Son-yu walked and felt through his electroreception every living creature around him. All 220, bright spots, close, warm. And behind them, another 1,600. And behind them, the whole world, alive, slowly waking into the 101st day. He walked, a shark that keeps moving. In the first life, a snail. 18 days, alone, 501. In the second, a shark. 100 days. 220 people. One ticket to Tokyo. The difference, one decision, always one decision. It turned out that building a world was harder than surviving an apocalypse. In the apocalypse, everything was clear. An enemy came, you had to defend yourself. Food ran out, you had to find some. A person was alone, you had to take them in. The logic of survival, and brutal but simple. Peacetime turned out to be harder. On the 110th day, Kang Son-yu sat in council and listened to two group members arguing about where to put the garden. The south side gets more light, Park Jong was saying. A whale knows water, but I've read about photosynthesis. The south side is taken by Do Huan's workshop. Someone from the new people from Fuji objected. The bear won't give it up. The bear will give it up if you explain to him. The bear won't give it up. Then the bear needs a different place. The bear has lived here longer than you. The garden is more important than the workshop. Go tell the bear that yourself. Kang Son-yu stared at the table. 99 days I was thinking about bosses, about levels, about system threats. Now there's an argument about a garden. This is progress. He raised his hand. Everyone fell silent. The garden goes on the east side, he said. Morning sun is better for most vegetables. Du Huan stays on the south. Question closed. Silence. What if morning sun isn't enough? Someone asked. Then we'll replant, said Kang Son-yu. A garden isn't forever. We'll see what grows and adjust. Logic so simple there was nothing to argue with. The council moved on. There were 37 questions. Kang Sonu listened to each one. About water, about electricity. They were restoring piece by piece, about task distribution, about the children whose number was growing, about medicine there wasn't enough of, about who would be responsible for the new groups from Fuji who had decided to stay nearby. By evening, 29 questions resolved, 8 for the next council, progress. After the council, Kang Sonu went up to the roof. Tokyo at night looked different than it had 100 days ago. Not dark, alive. In several blocks, lights were burning. Other groups were restoring electricity independently of them. From somewhere, the smell of a campfire and food. Real food being cooked. The electro-reception showed the city, the thousands of spots, alive, moving, occupied with their own affairs. Not running, not hiding, just living. Lee Sura came up 5 minutes later. 37 questions, she said, sitting beside him. A record for one council. Soon it'll be 50, said Kang Son-yu. Is that good or bad? Good. More questions, but more we're building. Lee Sura opened her laptop. A habitual gesture like breathing. I received a signal, she said. From whom? From a group in Osaka. They also passed Fuji, also building. A pause. They're asking about the council system, how ours works. Explain it to them? I've already written a basic protocol. I want your approval. He looked at the screen, a clear, organized document. Lee Sura always worked this way, fast, precise, without excess. Good, he said. Send it. 3 more groups have asked for the same thing. A pause. Kang Sonu. Yes? What we're building, it's not just a base. I know. It's becoming, she was choosing the word, a standard. People look at us and copy, equal voice, counsel, accepting the weak. That's good. That's responsibility. Also good. Lee Sura looked at him. Aren't you afraid of the scale? Kang Sonu thought. In my first life, I was afraid to leave my apartment, he said. I sat alone and thought that if I kept my head down, I'd survive. A pause. I didn't survive. And now? Now I understand that scale is just more people who need help. He looked at the city. I know how to help. Learned that over 100 days. Lee Sura was quiet. Then she closed her laptop. I'm glad you didn't eat beef, she said. I've eaten beef 1,000 times, said Kang Son-yu. Cooked. Ah, the system only counts live. Yes, so your snail was the last live food in 23 years. Apparently. That makes you the cleanest person I know, said Lee Sura seriously. Kang Sonu looked at her. Is that not a compliment? It's a fact. Silence. Lee Sura, he said. Yes. You ate the salmon raw deliberately, the evening before the apocalypse? A pause. I order sashimi every Friday, she said. For 3 years now. 3 years every Friday. Yes. So the salmon wasn't an accident. No. You just love salmon. Very much. Kang Sonu looked at her. And how is it being a salmon? Lee Sura smiled slightly. Swimming against the current, she said. It turns out that's literally me. The visitor came alone. From the south, on foot, without a group. Seorina spotted him 5 kilometers out. From the air, the visibility was good. Reported over the radio. 1 person, moving slowly, not aggressive. A pause. Kang Sonu, he's carrying something. What? A child. Kang Sonu went out to meet him personally. The hybrid? The transformation was unusual. Kang Sonu didn't immediately recognize it. Not a predator. Dark brown skin with spots, movement smooth, slow, but not weak. Medium level. In his arms, and a child about 3 years old, asleep. The man stopped 10 meters away, looked at Kang Sonu, tired, without fear. I heard about your base, he said, from far away. From Yokohama, 3 days walking. Alone? The group didn't make it. A pause. A month ago, only she's left. He looked at the child. Yours? No, I found her alone. Her parents didn't survive. Kang Sonu looked at the man. 3 days on foot from Yokohama with someone else's child in his arms. What's your name? Asked Kang Sonu. Inoue Takeshi. Welcome, Inoue-san. He stepped aside, a gesture toward the gates. The child to Yamaguchi first. He'll check her health. Then you rest. Then you tell us about Yokohama. Inoue looked at him. You're not asking who I am. You carried someone else's child for 3 days, said Kang Sun-yu. That's enough for me. Inoue turned out to be a turtle. Not a giant sea turtle. Slow on land, incredibly enduring, with a shell that could withstand blows that would have killed hybrids twice his strength, and a navigator. Sea turtles could sense the Earth's magnetic field. Inoue knew exactly where he was, to the meter, without a map or compass. This is invaluable, said Lee Sura the next day. We need routes, between bases, to resources, to other groups. A living navigator is better than any map. He carried a 3-year-old child for 3 days, said Do Hwan. I like this man just as he is, without any skills. The girl's name was Yui. 3 years old, dark eyes, transformation into a seahorse. Small, fragile-looking, but with a regeneration skill that in level exceeded even Kang Son-yu. Seahorses are the only creatures where the males carry the young. The biology of maximum care. Yui had been at the base for 3 days and had become everyone's. Every person knew her. Every person did something for her. Every person smiled when they saw her. Haruka took her under her wing immediately. I'm going to teach her to read, Haruka announced on the 4th day. She's small but smart. I can see it in her eyes. Yamaguchi looked at his daughter. You've only known how to read yourself for 7 months. Then I'll teach the way I know, said Haruka. That's enough. The problem came from within. Not an enemy from outside, and a disagreement inside. The first serious, real one, the kind that Kang Son-yu couldn't solve simply by putting the garden on the east side. The issue is the transformation, said Nakamura Hana, the jellyfish woman they had taken in from Fuji, a biochemist who worked with Yamaguchi. She found a method. Partial reversal of the transformation. Not complete. The system had said transformations were permanent. But Nakamura had found a way to suppress some of the physical changes. Not the skills, only the external ones. A person with shark skin could become human-looking on the outside again, while keeping the strength and skills inside. Part of the base wanted this. Badly wanted it. 40 people out of 220. Those whose transformations were visible, noticeable, those whose children looked in the mirror and didn't recognize themselves. Not everyone wanted to look like a hybrid on the outside. Some people just wanted to look human again. Another part objected. Not harshly, but objected. They said that appearance wasn't the main thing, that hybrids should accept their form, that the reversal was dangerous and untested. The argument grew over a week. Tension at the council. Not aggression, but tension. The kind that, if not resolved now, would become a crack and then a fracture. Kang Son-yu listened to both sides, for a long time, to the end. He didn't interrupt. Then he stood up. We're talking about choice, he said. The system gave everyone a transformation without a choice. Nakamura-san found a way to return some of that choice. A pause. This is not a betrayal of your form. This is autonomy. A person's right to decide what they look like. But the risks. The risks are a conversation with Nakamura and Yamaguchi. A medical conversation, not a political one. He looked at both sides. No one is obligated to change. No one is obligated to stay the same. This is each person's individual decision, not the council's, not the group's. A pause. We don't impose a form. Not this one, not that one. Silence, long. Then one voice from among those 40. What about you? Would you want to? Kang Son-yu looked at his hands. Dark gray skin. Denticles. Lateral vision of almost 300 degrees. Electroreception that could sense every living soul within 200 meters. No, he said, I'm used to it. A pause. But that's my choice, not a template for others. The crack closed, not disappeared, just closed. It became a conversation instead of a conflict. The first 7 people signed up with Nakamura the following week. Pak Son-ho gave a long speech once in 160 days. Not at the council, in the evening, on the roof, when a few people had gathered for no particular reason. Kang Son-yu, Lee Sura, Do Hwan, Yamaguchi, Tanaka, Inoue with Yui in his arms. She was no longer asleep but sitting up, looking around with wide eyes. The megalodon stood at the edge of the roof, looked at the horizon, then turned, and said, I studied the megalodon for 20 years, knew every bone, every tooth, every square centimeter of the reconstructed anatomy. Voice low, slow, every word carrying weight. I thought I knew these creatures. A pause. I knew nothing. Everyone was silent. They went extinct 3 million years ago. We don't know why. Theories, climate change, reduction of prey, competition. He looked at his hands. Now I feel their memory, not recollections. Biological memory. The tissue remembers. A long pause. They didn't go extinct because of external causes. They went extinct because they became too large for their world. Too specialized. Too perfect as predators. And when the world changed, they couldn't adapt. Silence on the roof. I think the system gave me this form deliberately, said Pak Son-ho. Not as a reward, as a lesson. He looked at Kang Son-yu. Being the strongest is not enough. You need to be adaptable. Kang Son-yu looked at the megalodon. You're adapting, he said. I'm trying, said Pak Son-ho. Yui calls you Grandfather Shark, said Inoue. Pak Son-ho looked at the small girl in the turtle's arms. Yui looked back at him with wide, serious eyes. Grandfather Shark? The megalodon repeated. She also calls me Uncle Turtle and Haruka Big Sister Shark, said Inoue. She has a good classification system, said Tanaka. She's 3 years old, said Inoue. All the more so. Yui reached her arms out toward Pa Son-ho. Come to me. The megalodon stood and looked at her, then very slowly stepped forward. He picked her up carefully, hands that could have broken armor, and held her as though she were made of glass. Yui immediately grabbed him by the nose and said something in Japanese. What is she saying? Asked Kang Son-yu. She says he has a big nose, Inoue translated. That is true, said Pak Son-ho seriously. Yui laughed. By 180 days, Lee Sura had a network. Not a small one. 18 groups within 300 kilometers. Tokyo, Yokohama, Osaka, Kyoto, several smaller cities. Different sizes, different systems of governance, but all building, all alive. And all of them knew about the base at the Tokyo Marine Center. Not because Kang Son-yu had advertised himself, simply because the people they had taken in told others. The people they had helped in the snowstorm on Fuji remembered. The council system Lee Sura had sent to Osaka spread further, to Kobe, to Nagasaki, to Sapporo. They're referring to us as the Tokyo Protocol, said Lee Sura at the council. What does that mean? Asked Do Hwan. It means that equal voice, accepting the weak, and dialogue instead of combat are now called a system with our name. We didn't patent it, said Tiger. Ideas aren't patented, said Bomb. They spread. Kang Son-yu listened. The Tokyo Protocol. Because of a snail 501 and 1 plane ticket. We need to meet the other groups in person, he said. Not over the radio, in person. He looked at Lee Sura's map. A conference. A conference? Tiger asked. A meeting of leaders. Osaka, Central Point, neutral territory. Kang Son-yu looked at the map. 18 groups, 1 conversation. About what? About what comes next. A pause. The apocalypse is over. Reconstruction is underway, but it's fragmented. He swept his hand across the map. We can each build our own things separately or together. One large thing. Silence. You're talking about a state, said Yamaguchi quietly. I'm talking about cooperation, said Kang Son-yu. A state? That's if they decide it themselves. The conference in Osaka, day 192nd, 18 groups, 18 leaders at one table, different hybrids, different stories, different scales, from 30 people to 300. Kang Son-yu didn't take the seat at the head of the table, he sat to the side. Lee Sura chaired. Protocol, agenda, the order of speakers. She was the best moderator he had ever seen. Salmon against the current. Never gave up, never lost the thread, kept the conversation on track when it threatened to fall apart. They talked for 6 hours. There were arguments, serious ones. About territories, about resources, about who contributes what and how much. One leader left after the 3rd hour, came back 20 minutes later, silently. By evening, an agreement. Not a state, not yet a state, but an alliance. A shared protection protocol, a shared resource exchange system, a shared medical standard. Nakamura presented it personally, 20 minutes, clear, without excess. And a shared name. Someone suggested it from the floor. A young dolphin hybrid from Kobe, quiet, rarely speaking. New Ocean. He looked at the table. We're all marine creatures to varying degrees or those alongside them. And the ocean is a place where everything different lives together. The depths and the surface. Predator and prey. Everything in one space. Silence. Beautiful, said Inoue. Is it practical? Asked Tiger. Practicality is in the details of the agreement, said Kang Son-yu. The name is for the people, so they remember what they're building. A vote. 16 out of 18 in favor. The new Ocean Alliance founded. Haruka turned 8. The base held a celebration. Not large, not loud. Just in the evening, everyone gathered in the courtyard. Do-hwan had found real candles from somewhere. Yamaguchi had baked something resembling a cake from what was available. Yui, already nearly 4, carried flowers she had picked in the nearest park and handed them out to everyone indiscriminately. Haruka sat in the center and watched everything with the expression of someone accepting this with dignity. "Make a wish," said Yamaguchi. Haruka thought for a long time, seriously, as with everything she did. Then she blew out the candles. "What did you wish for?" asked Kang Son-yu. "I'm not telling," said Haruka. "Otherwise it won't come true." "Correct. But I'll say part of it," she added. "It's related to sharks." "You're a shark yourself," said Do-hwan. "I know." A pause. "But I want to teach other sharks, and non-sharks, when I grow up." She looked straight ahead. "Yamaguchi says I know how to explain complicated things simply." Another pause. "I want to be a teacher." Yamaguchi looked at his daughter. "You already are a teacher," he said quietly. "A small one for now," said Haruka. "Later a big one." Kang Sonu looked at her. 8 years old, a shark, a teacher. During the apocalypse, she had held the turtle's hand so he wouldn't fall behind. The world was going to be fine. Exactly 1 year. Lee Soo-ra noted it in the morning, simply said over breakfast, "Today is exactly 1 year." Without fanfare, like a reminder about a meeting, Kang Sonu was eating rice, real rice from the garden. East side of the building, morning sun. The harvest had been good. Familiar faces at the table. Do-hwan ate silently and heavily, as always. Tiger was reading something. He had developed a habit for books, had found a library in the neighboring block, and went there regularly. Seo Rina had flown in from the morning patrol, hair wine-disheveled, reporting briefly. All quiet. Inoue was feeding Yui, who could already eat by herself but pretended she couldn't. Tanaka and Pak Sun-ho were discussing something quietly. Both marine biologists, both accustomed to deep-water silence, speaking rarely and weightily. Yamaguchi was watching Haruka, who was already at the other end of the hall teaching 3 children to write. Seriously, with chalk and a homemade board. "A year?" said Yamaguchi. "A year," agreed Kang Son-yu. "Did you think you'd live to see it?" "In the first life, no." A pause. "In the second, I tried not to think about it, just took the next step." "A good strategy. The only one that works." Yamaguchi watched Haruka. "She doesn't remember life before the apocalypse," he said quietly. "She was 7 when it started. This world is her normal world." "Is that good?" "I don't know." A long pause. "Sometimes I think it's better not to know what the old world was like. Then the new one doesn't seem worse, just different." Kang Sun-yu thought. "My old world," he said, "was an office on the 23rd floor and rice from the microwave." A pause. "This one is better." "Despite everything?" "Because of everything." In the evening, the roof again. A different one by now, they had built it up over the year, made it into a real place. Benches, a few pots with plants that Bomb grew stubbornly and methodically, a tarp stretched against the rain. Those who always gathered came together. Kang Son-yu, Lee Soo-ra, Do-hwan, Yamaguchi. Inoue with Yui. The girl no longer slept at this hour. She sat between the turtle and the megalodon and looked at the city lights with a completely happy expression. Pak Sun-ho stood at the edge as always, Tanaka beside him. Seo Rina had flown in and folded her wings. Tiger had brought something in a thermos. Hot, smelled good. "What is this?" asked Do-hwan. "Tea," said Tiger. "From where?" "Found a recipe in the library." A pause. "And the tea in a nearby warehouse." "You brewed tea from a book recipe?" "Do you make honey by bare instinct?" "Sometimes." "Then be quiet." Do-hwan tried the tea, was quiet for a second. "It's good," he said. Tiger sat down with the expression of a person receiving what was due. The city below glowed. Not the way it had a year ago. Back then the light had been chaotic, random. Now it was systematic. Blocks restoring electricity one by one. Routes between bases marked by lanterns. The lights of laboratories working through the night. 15,000 people in Tokyo. Alive, building, daily resolving 37 questions at the council. 18 groups in the new Ocean Alliance. Over 100,000 across all of Japan. Kang Sonu sat and drank tea. Lee Sura was beside him, laptop closed, which was itself a rarity, just sitting. "You're looking at the lights," she said. "Yes." "What are you thinking about?" "The snail." Quiet laughter. "Dohwan, tiger, seorina." "Habitual." "Always the snail," said Dohwan. "She deserves it," said Kang Sonu. "Are we really going to build the monument?" asked Dohwan. "I've been thinking about it seriously." "Seriously?" "A small plaque," said Kang Sonu, "by the entrance. Here a wrong choice was made that led to the right result." Silence. "That's long for a plaque," said Tiger. "Then just snail, 501. Everything else is a consequence." Yui looked at Kang Sonu, then said something in Japanese. "What is she saying?" asked Kang Sonu. "She says she wants to see a snail," Inoue translated. "A live one?" Inoue asked. Yui answered. "She says yes, a live one, small, with a little house." Kang Sonu looked at the girl. 4 years old, seahorse, wants to see a snail. "After rain," he said. "They come out after rain. Tomorrow morning we'll go look." Yui smiled. The rain came at night. Kang Sonu lay and listened to it, even warm, the first truly summer rain of the year. He thought, 8 years old, a courtyard in Incheon, rain, snails on the asphalt, Lee Jun with a coin, 32 years old, the Tokyo Marine Center, rain, 120 people beyond the walls, an alliance of 18 groups. Lee Soo-ra with her laptop closed beside him. 24 years difference, one snail, one decision that needed to be undone, one decision that was undone. He closed his eyes. Morning after rain. Kang Sonu came out into the courtyard at 7 o'clock. Yui was already waiting by the gate, Inoue behind her yawning with a thermos. They went to the park. The asphalt glistened. In the air, the smell of earth and freshness. Real trees, grown over the year in the cracks of the city, already at full height. And snails. Everywhere, slow, shiny, with little houses on their backs. Yui stopped, watched, then slowly, very carefully, crouched down. Reached out a small finger. The snail stopped. Slowly extended its horns, looked at the finger, then, just as slowly, crawled on. Yui watched it go. "Slow," she said quietly in Japanese. "Very," agreed Inoue, "but beautiful." "Yes." Yui looked at Kang Sonu. "Kanga Josie ate one like this?" "One like this," said Kang Sonu. "Why?" 501. Yui looked at him, then at the snail, then at him again. "I wouldn't have," she said seriously. "I know," said Kang Sonu. "But it's good that you did." Kang Sonu looked at her. 4 years old, seahorse, who had found a grandfather shark and an uncle turtle and a big sister shark, because one person 30 years ago had eaten a garden snail for 501. "Yes," he said, "it's good that I did." Yui nodded, and went looking for the next snail, slowly, carefully, with the absolute seriousness of a 4-year-old engaged in something important. Kang Sonu watched her, then looked at the city around him, then at the sky, blue, clear, without threats. He is 32 years old. He is a Class SS great white shark, the only one within 200 kilometers. He ate a snail at 8 years old for 501 and died as a snail after 18 days in his first life. In the second, he ate a legendary shark, jumped from 15 meters onto an invisible squid, spent the 100th day of the apocalypse on Fuji, founded an alliance of 100,000 people, and is now standing in a park after rain beside a 4-year-old girl looking for snails. Of everything listed, the last seems to him the most important, which is exactly why it's right. Somewhere in a Tokyo park, after the first summer rain, on wet asphalt, a snail crawls. Slow, shiny, with a little house on its back. Completely unaware that it is the beginning of this entire story.